Yo, what is going on, you uncommon Umbreon? Yes, that's right. I took Fliptini all the way to a top 8 finish in a tournament the other day. And by the way, if you're looking to catch some of the tournament action, catch me playing in some tournaments, go check out the live stream. I stream all the tournaments I play in twitch.tv/AzulGG, as well as a bunch of other PTCGO shenanigans. So yeah, go check out the live stream. First link in the description. Give it a click, give it a follow. Up next, I want to give a big shout out to Lee Boy for the original list, and basically the list in general, to be honest, not even just the original list. I only changed 2 cards, and they're not really that big of changes. I was playing a couple games with the deck before I played it in the tournament. Felt like I was whiffing energy a little bit, so I cut a Marnie, add a 7th basic fire, and then I cut the 4th Victini VMAX for a 4th evolution incense, because they're basically, you know, the same amount of outs to Victini VMAX. It's 7 outs, and then now it's still 7 outs, but the evolution incense we can kind of play whenever we want and just kind of get it out of the deck, and then we can also choose not to play it. Whereas the Victini VMAX, you can't just play a Victini VMAX unless there's a Victini V to put it on. And we don't want to too aggressively put Victini Vs and Victini VMAXs in play, because it's hard for us to attack with things that we don't have energy on to attack with when our opponent bosses them up, and we don't play switch cards to get back to our attackers that actually have energy. So yeah, the evolution incense helps us be a little bit more aggressive about thinning out our deck, and it doesn't really reduce our odds of finding a Victini VMAX on, you know, the second turn or future turns if we just don't play the evolution incense until we need it to get a Victini VMAX, and, you know, put that in play. If you guys have no idea what this deck is about, it's all about Victini VMAX. That's the only Pokemon we play in here. Is a 4-4 Victini, or a 4-3 in this case. 4-3 Victini VMAX. Just trying to get off that turn 2 max victory and just start kind of rolling from there. That's the whole point of this deck. Turn 2 max victory, it KOs all the V Pokemon, 2 it KOs all the VMAXs. So we got a lot of room in this deck because we have so few Pokemon in here. So we got a lot of disruption going on in here. Of course, we got the 4 Paths to the Peak. We got a decent, or a lot of energy disruption, almost max energy disruption. I guess you could play Yell Grunts, but we got 4 Crushing Hammers, of course, and then also 4 Fan of Waves. It's probably the only deck I've ever played that plays 4 Fan of Waves, but extremely good against the Mew VMAX matchup, of course, disrupting those Fusion Strike energy, and then also very, very good and very important actually in the Single Strike matchup. Yeah, super important in Single Strike matchup. Remove the Single Strike energy from play, and then they have to Houndoom them back into play. They take more damage through that, and we actually usually get to the point where basically, or effectively, one-hit KOing Single Strike Pokemon with the max victory because of how often we remove their Single Strike energy, and then they have to put them back in play with the Houndooms, taking 20 more damage every single time. And yeah, basically lets us one-hit KO the Single Strike Pokemon. So that's pretty crazy how that actually ends up playing out between the Fan of Waves and the Crushing Hammer. And of course, called Fliptini not just for the Crushing Hammers, but also for the Pokemon catchers, and these are super good in here because it allows us to be really, really aggressive. Like I mentioned, max victory, one-hit KOs any V Pokemon that are basically being played right now and does 220 damage. So, you know, if our opponent's literally playing against any VMAX deck, they bench their V Pokemon, whether it be a Jolteon or an Urshifu, and if we went first and going into our second turn, we can just be like, okay, you know, play Kabu, get our VMAX, get our energy, catch our heads, knock out their only V in play, and then all of a sudden on my opponent's next turn, or on our opponent's next turn, they're just not attacking, which is a huge deal and a huge tempo swing. So yeah, Fliptini is the name because of the 4, not just the 4 Crushing Hammers, but also the 4 Pokemon catchers in here. Gust them up, knock them out, and then we also have 4 boss in here as well. So we can be really, really aggressive about picking our targets and what we want to be hitting, you know, turn to turn. So be really, really aggressive with that. And yeah, that's the list. Not too much else to say. Research Marnie and the Kabus in here as our draw supporters, and we very often find ourselves playing down to just 1 Pokemon in play, and especially early on our first turn, it's very easy to be only having 1 Pokemon in play. So the Kabu gets played quite frequently for the 8 cards that it can draw. So yeah, Kabu is a super powerful draw supporter in this deck. It's always really cool to play something else besides Marnie or Research as a draw supporter. So yeah, it's really sick to have the Kabu in here. Guys, that is the list. If you want to easily import this list into PTCGO so you can play with it yourself, go to PokemonCard.io. I post all the deck lists from all the YouTube videos over there, so you can easily import them or copy them there and import them into PTCGO. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell, and let's go ahead and let's get into some games. All right, let's get it. Won the coin flip, so we will be going first. I don't think there's a matchup where we want to go second. We pretty much want to go first in every single matchup, and we do mulligan quite a bit with the deck. We only play 4 basic Pokemon, of course, the 4 Victini V. So yeah, I've been mulliganing quite a bit with this, sometimes up to like 4 or 5 mulligans. We'll see how many we got here. At least 1. Let's see how many my opponent draws here. Hopefully just 1. Yep, just 1. There. We are up against Gengar VMAX. I've never played this matchup. I assume it'll probably play pretty similar to Single Strike, except their attack is a little bit more efficient against us because they don't discard all of their energy to get a one-hit KO like the G-Max One Blow from the Urshifu. So they're a little bit more efficient with their attacking. They need 3 single strike energy, and then they one-hit KO one of our Victinis, unless we have the heat energy. So heat energy is going to probably be pretty important for us to get. Another thing that's a little bit scary though in this matchup is actually just the Dark Slumber on the Gengar V, because it just puts us to sleep. And then it kind of comes down to a 50-50 for us to wake up. And if we don't wake up, then my opponent is going to be doing enough damage to that Dark Slumber to kind of set up the 2-hit KO through any heat energy I possibly have. There goes an Urn already for my opponent. And sometimes Gengar VMAX decks only play 3 Urn. I'm a fan of 3 Urn in there myself. But this is a Battle VIP Pass, Cramorant build. I mean, to make room for all those cards, they probably only play 3 Urn. And they were super aggressive with getting rid of that one. They are getting very set up here, though. Triple Houndour. I mean, double Gengar V out. Yeah, they got a lot of stuff set up and going here. So, I mean, we're going to probably have a pretty tough time in this one. We'll see. Probably going to throw out a Crushing Hammer here, trying to remove that energy. I might go with the Fan. We'll see what also what the Pokegears give us. Probably looking for, yeah, the Kabu would be great. And then let's go with the Crushing Hammer. There it is, the heads. Get rid of that. I guess I was wondering if I want to keep the Crushing Hammer around for like specifically single strike energy, which maybe I did want to do, to be honest. Got the heat energy, did not find a VMAX though. And with having the Victini V in the active, I think we just need to like go Quick Ball. It's not good. Quick Ball away a Pokegear, because we might need to get another Victini later on. Grab a fresh Victini, and I think I'm going to grab this one here, the Victini V, save the other One Retreat Victini V for later. Bench, attach. I'll put up Path to the Peak, maybe stop some Crobats, and then V-Bullet. I could gust up a V. No, I think I'm just going to V-Bullet here, save the Pokemon catchers for the following turn. You know what, actually, I probably should have Quick Ball away. Quick Ball. Kabu's not going to be very good next turn if my opponent doesn't knock out my active here, which is very possible my opponent whiffs the knockout on the active here. Then Kabu won't be very good. So I probably should just Quick Ball the Quick Ball and be like, okay, we don't have a ton of outs to the last Victini when we need it, if we need it, but I'll just be fine with that. So I probably should have gone with Quick Ball the Quick Ball there, keep the Pokegear for the next turn. Yeah, because Kabu, if my opponent does whiff the knockout here, Kabu's not going to do very much. Another Urn down, though. So this is definitely something we can kind of play around here. Is just got to get through this first Gengar. Get rid of single strike energy that way. And yeah, they might get this first knockout here. Or some more Crushing Hammer heads as well will be great. And even Fan of Waves is a nice tool to utilize here too, because they will still be able to re-accelerate the energy out through the single strike roar. And oh no, does my opponent have a stadium here? Oh, the Crobat into the Path to the Peak. You'll love to see it, to be honest. If you're me. There's the VMAX, a little bit late, but we can still work with it. Like I said, the Kabu's not going to be great here as well. Draw some catchers. We get the heads, going to go for it here. We could just go with the V-Bullet for 60 damage. That would almost set up the 2-hit KO. I think I'm going to go for that and actually evolve this thing on the bench and just go for the V-Bullet for 60 here. I think I'm fine with that. Draw, no energy. We were really looking for energy there. That's really what I was hoping for. I'm fine with benching this now, I think. We do have the other Victini. No, I think we prized one of the Victinis, actually. I think I am. Well, then if they could gust this and I can't retreat and attack with a big attack in the next turn. So let's just go with the V-Bullet here. Yeah, V-Bullet for 60. I guess I'm fine with that. And if they do, we're looking for some kind of energy disruption. So that way, if they accelerated more energy with Houndoom to this Gengar VMAX, we can actually KO it with the max victory. But we did get a Fans, no Crushing Hammers, so that's a little bit unfortunate. They might still have to accelerate energy from the Houndoom to the Gengar VMAX, but it's also possible they don't. And if they don't, that does make things a little bit weird for us. But with one heat energy here, we could possibly get a second heat energy on this Victini VMAX and then be in a really, really good spot. And I could have benched this Victini V here, but like I said, if they had just like a weird hand, you know, they did just try and Crobat. So if their hand was kind of dead, maybe besides the Crobat, could have put us in a weird spot. But that's a really good draw. No draw supporter and no other Victinis to work with. But we got Crushing Hammer, we got Fan, and we got a way to attack with this Victini VMAX, which really, to be honest, is all we really need here, I feel like. Just a way to attack with this VMAX. And we have a couple more options around it. We got the boss as well. Boss is great. Help us pressure wherever their energy might be. But if they accelerate energy to the active here, we can knock them out with the... Yeah, they're down to 220 now. And this is what can kind of happen in the single strike matchup. They start using Houndoom to accelerate to their attackers. Okay, that makes sense. They want to attack with their attackers. And then we like fan the energy away. We Crushing Hammer the energy away. They have to keep using Houndoom to get energy on their attackers, and it gets their HP low enough sometimes, especially when we combo it with like a V-Bullet, or even sometimes we hit with like that energy burst for a little bit of damage as well, where we can actually get the knockout. And we'll go for a Crushing Hammer here on this one on the bench. With the Phantom Waves still resets the energy. Once again, take away 3 energy out of play off their active. And we have this Heat energy here. So even with 3 single strike energy, my opponent can't knock out this Victini VMAX unless they play Phantom Waves, Crushing Hammer, or actually, you know, they could get 4 single strike energy on this. If they do that, they could get the knockout. But if they can't do that, we're in a pretty good spot, I feel like. I would have liked to have benched the other Victini V this turn. I just didn't want to do it last turn because of that boss play, like I mentioned. Maybe I was a little bit greedy going down that route in the end here, and we might be paying for it on as soon as this next turn. We'll see how good of a turn my opponent has here. But they could even hit us with just like a Fear and Panic here, to be honest, and that would still be that would still be pretty good. Doing what, 100 damage, setting up the 2-hit KO for the G-Max swallow up on the next turn. But if we can just hit this and remove a bunch of energy from play on my opponent, Gengar VMAX, we have this first fan here. We could even go for a boss stall on a Houndoom as well. Yeah, there's the Fear and Panic. Check the Crushing Hammer. Oh, it's a Tails. But if they need to Houndoom twice here, it's possible we could still win. I'm going to attach an energy here just in case they ever want to retreat. We're going to Fan of Waves the energy off the Gengar VMAX. And I think we're just swinging. I could go for a boss stall play. I don't love the idea of that. I feel like it's just kind of waiting for my opponent to draw a switch card. I don't think they've used a single. They haven't used a single switch card yet. We're just going to go ahead and put the pressure on, I think. Max victory. Coming down to the wire here. Yeah, if my opponent just has a... If they just have an energy in hand, they will just single strike energy, hiding energy. If we got a Crushing Hammer heads, though, they would have had to use 2 single strike roars to charge this thing up for the G-Max swallow up. So that Crushing Hammer was huge. Even a second Fan of Waves would have done the exact same thing and put us in like a winning position. And that really is how the single strike matchup goes. But we'll see what they got in this hand. We'll see if they have an energy, but they really are just an energy away, unfortunately. But it's coming down to the wire here. If they don't have it, we have it on our next turn. New Gengar V down. They could go for, like I mentioned this at the beginning of the game, the Dark Slumber is pretty effective against us. Oh, but here comes a Bruno for 4, so we'll see if they get an energy here. Yeah, the Dark Slumber is pretty effective against us. I guess if they have the Dark Slumber attack. Oh, and they got the single strike energy. So as long as they have, yeah, and they have 2 single strike energy left. There it is, 20 damage short. Or like I said, if we just got that heads on the Crushing Hammer, so super close one against the Gengar VMAX. And if that felt pretty similar to how it plays out against Single Strike, pretty close matchup. We're going to walk away with the L here in this one. But yeah, probably about a 50-50. Feels very similar to how the Single Strike matchup, that Umbreon, Urshifu. I guess Gengar is still Single Strike, but you don't call it Single Strike, you call it Gengar. Still a pretty close matchup though, and that was a pretty close one. Okay, we won the coin flip again, so we will be going first. All we need is Victini and an energy. All we need on our first turn. I feel like it's not too much to ask. We're definitely going to open the Victini. Kind of don't have a choice. We only play Victinis as basic Pokemon. So the question was, will we find one of our energies? Victini, there's the energy. And a couple Pokegears with the VMAX. We could get a really aggressive turn 2 here with like a boss or something potentially. But let's see what we're up against. See how scared we have to be of our opponent's turn 1. Because if we're going up against something like a Mew VMAX, they could turn 1 donk our Victini V. No problem. So yeah, let's see what my opponent does flip here. Ooh, and 4 mulligans to go with it. So I'm really hoping it's not a Mew VMAX deck. And it is Mew VMAX. Oh my gosh, wish me luck. Here we go. Does my opponent have it with 4 mulligans? I am feeling very scared of my opponent having the turn 1 knockout here with the Meloetta. If they don't have it, I think we'll be okay. But if they got it, and there's the Meloetta, there's an extra Mew. Genesect coming down. The big thing is, of course, that Elsa Sparkle. Can they find the Sparkle? All Crystal's not Elsa Sparkle. Okay, feeling a little bit better. And they did grab a Psychic Energy. Maybe we're a little bit safer than I need to be worried about. Yeah, they grabbed a Psychic Energy off the Fog Crystal. Here comes a Cramomatic. And it is a Tails. The Cramomatic away a Quick Ball, though. So I'm still, once again, pretty scared. Because you usually don't see that happening. But a really slow start here from my opponent. But they could have, like, Quick Ball. They could have Frog Crystaled. A strange sequence there for my opponent. I'm very curious as to what is in their hand. But we got the turn 2 Victini. Cooking. Go ahead and Kabu as well. 8 fresh cards. I mean, we might see some of the cards we just had. Got a Crushing Hammer and plenty of Paths to the Peak. We're going to be able to remove all of my opponent's energy from play here. Yeah, extremely curious choices there from my opponent. Getting rid of Quick Ball there. That gets a Genesect. That thins out the hand to draw more with Genesect. Fog Crystal could have even got another Mew in play, so that way you have another Pokemon in play to draw with off Genesect. So I'm very curious to know what is in my opponent's hand here that they didn't go for the turn 1 Elsa Sparkle play, and then more so chose to play it the way they did. It makes me think, well, there's an Elsa Sparkle. So they top decked that, I would assume, because they did not go for the play. Maybe they prized 2 Fusion Strike energy and decided, well, I'm just going to play it slower. Maybe they have a stadium in hand to work with as well, if I potentially have the Path to the Peak like I do. Maybe they don't. To be honest, I'm very curious to see what else they got. We got quite the hand ourselves. Double Fan of Waves here to reset this energy on this Mew. I don't really want to Marnie my opponent, especially if they don't do anything this turn. But we might have to. They're going for the Techno Blast. Double Fan of Waves, so I feel, well, they could actually just attack with the Meloetta. Well, that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, which is kind of chilling. So we can go like Fan of Waves here. And then I almost want to Fan of Waves off the Meloetta. We could go KO them. Oh, actually, we can go Fan of Waves here again. And then we could KO the Meloetta. I like this. I like this a lot. And then Quick Ball. I don't want a Quick Ball Path to the Peak. But maybe we do just give up Path to the Peak here. Boss, Marnie. Let's give up the Marnie. Oh, and there's the concede from my opponent. So yeah, I think we probably had them pretty locked up at that point. Yeah, on the Meloetta. Double Fan. Looking pretty good. Path was still in play. Still a very curious choice from my opponent on the first turn, how they played out those cards. But, I mean, it seems like they maybe had some reason behind it. Wasn't good enough, though. Victini gets the dub. Coin flip dub once again. We did mulligan. Of course, that is going to happen. A decent amount with the deck. And but once again, guaranteed Victini start. All we need is that energy. And I always feel like it's asking very little. And we got it here and opened this Victini. Which generally we like to open up the other one, to be honest. But it's not that big of a deal. 5 mulligans, though. Zomble start. Like to see that. I'm not going to put on the heat energy yet. And I think I'll go ahead and throw out the Path to the Peak. I can't think of what they would be playing with Inteleon. And I'd really want to hold back on this Path to the Peak. But yeah, definitely don't want to put the heat energy down because my opponent is playing. Oh no, it looks like we're up against Suicune here. This matchup is pretty awful. It's pretty terrible. We're going to try here, but it's going to be pretty tough for sure. And here's a Marnie to go with everything else. Pretty big hand. Not a whole ton going on, I guess, though. It's a pretty aggressive Marnie there. They just looked at it. I had to Marnie there pretty aggressively. Even though they have a Keep Calling to go with it as well, they give us a Victini VMAX and a Marnie. If I want to Marnie my opponent here, we have that option as well. Might want to be a little bit more aggressive with something like the Kabu, though, if they put down a Suicune here. Ooh, quick balling away a Melanie. That really makes me want to Marnie my opponent here. They have the cape as well. That's why this matchup is so tough. The capes on the Suicunes really are, I don't even know what you want to call it, the nail in the coffin. Like, it's pretty killer. Pretty tough to deal with. Yeah, but with the 2-card hand, I think we're going with the Kabu here every time. Could have even gone with the research there, to be honest. And we got the knockout. We did not get much else to work with. You can put the Victini down, though, just in case my opponent does get the good old Candy Ludicolo Melanie full combo, knock out our Victini VMAX, which is what we're really hoping they do whiff here. But with a quick ball of a Melanie there, I'm not feeling super confident in in this situation yet. There's the Melanie, but maybe if they whiff the attack here, which they didn't because they can go get a bucket if they want off this Drizzile, so did not whiff the attack. Maybe if they don't have the Candy Ludicolo, that gives us enough time to kind of come up with enough stuff to get back into this one, but it's going to be pretty tough, to be honest, even if they don't have the Candy Ludicolo this turn. Pick up on the Inteleon or the Drizzile here. I have a feeling they might have Candy Ludicolo here. Let's see what the Shady Dealings gives them. Okay, it's a quick ball. Probably just going to go ahead and get themselves another Suicune into play. Actually, just not going to go with anything. Just reset the Drizzile there. Okay. Going to go with a Marnie here, I think, then. Yeah, I kind of want to keep some of these things. I mean, I don't want to lose triple boss. Boss allows us to be aggressive, target specific things in my opponent with the Marnie. And we can just V-Bullet to get the cleanup here. We'll go with the Marnie. Try and get an energy for this Victini to V-Bullet clean up this Suicune. And then we need another Victini, and there's a Victini V there. So I'll put the basic energy here. Once again, we still kind of want to play around that potential of that, I forget what it's called. It was like, I just talked about it. Fan of Waves. They could play Fan of Waves, so we don't want to put heat energy in play. We absolutely have to. So we're going to avoid that. Yeah. V-Bullet. Gonna be able to clean up this Suicune. We get this Victini down. I might Kabu. We'll see what the Pokegear gives us. That gives us a research. Could research away this Victini, or not the Victini, bench the Victini, research away the Kabu, and probably the Heat Energy. Just get this Victini in play, just have it in play. I might give up the Heat Energy. Like, I don't know if I want to play around Fan of Waves or not. That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, do I want to play around Fan of Waves, or am I just going to go ahead and assume that my opponent does not play it? It's not always played in Suicune. It is sometimes played in Suicune. Not always, but I might not hit a basic energy anyways, but I should probably see an energy off the research, so probably gonna go ahead and risk it to try and find the basic energy. And the extra HP from the Heat Energy doesn't really change a whole ton in this matchup either, so don't really need to you know, try and stack those on my Victinis or anything, because yeah, the heat extra HP from the Heat Energy doesn't really change too much in this matchup. So I think that's probably what we're gonna look to do here, but I still potentially play around that Fan of Waves. I think I'm still gonna try and play around the Fan of Waves while I can, by just not putting it in play, try and find the basic energy instead, but hopefully find the research on the Pokegear. Otherwise I have the tough decision of, well, to be honest, if I don't find a research on Pokegear, I'm probably just gonna play the Kabu without benching the Victini, because I don't think the 4 cards from a Kabu is gonna be enough. I think I want to see a little bit more than that. Yeah, I don't think 4 cards from Kabu's gonna cut it. Another Melony grab from my opponent. No water in the discard pile, so to be honest, hate Marnie here now as much. Get rid of that Melony out of their hand. They might struggle to find it on the next turn. Even a Crushing Hammer here on the bench Suicune would be pretty cool. But yeah, it makes me not mind a Marnie as much. So maybe if I find a Marnie off the Pokegear, that would just be what I go with. I'm not gonna play the Evolution Incense, just gonna go ahead and play the Pokegear. Found another Kabu, so I guess we're going with Kabu here. And yeah, we need to find a V. Crushing Hammer would be nice. Crushing Hammer, VMAX, no V, oh no. Okay, Crushing Hammer, it does land, so that is nice, but is it gonna be enough? I honestly don't think so. Gonna play the Evolution Incense, won't be able to top deck this next turn, and we're most likely not getting Marnied, but we do have to evolve to the VMAX here, which means we don't get to use that whole V-Bullet strategy. I mean, if my opponent doesn't find a Cape here, and we can get a Marnie next turn, we do need a top deck a Marnie, I feel like, though. If they don't find the Cape for this Suicune V, but there's the well played. So someone tells me my opponent maybe has the full combo here. Candy, Ludicolo, Energy. I mean, we need to see the pieces, but yeah, Candy, Ludicolo, Energy would do it. Lotad's ready to go. There's the Inteleon with the Shady Dealing. So yeah, here comes Ludicolo. So yeah, I mean, this is why this was tough one. The weakness, a little bit tough to keep up with. We had a good game plan going into it. We had something to play with for sure. We had something to play towards. We weren't able to pull off that V-Bullet play. That V-Bullet play definitely made a huge difference. That means we wouldn't have to have a VMAX in the active right now. We didn't need a VMAX to KO that last Suicune, despite the Cape. We just didn't need that. We didn't need a VMAX there. The V-Bullet would have done it. The Capes can be super annoying. And actually, I've been thinking, like, maybe with, like, 2 Tool Jammers, they'd be good against the Jolteon matchup as well, but it might give us a decent shot against Suicune, to be honest. It's something definitely to maybe consider including because of that. I'd have to, like, test a little bit more Victini than I have. Play some more games with the Tool Jammers, see if they feel worth it. But definitely give us a better shot against the Suicune. The Capes is really what makes this a really tough matchup. I think even without Capes, it feels like it'd probably be unfavorable. That water weakness is definitely not doing us any favors. But get a way to get around Capes. It might not be that bad. And that's going to do it for the games with the Victini deck. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give the video a like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe, and to hit the bell. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.